All right, I have good news. I have finally figured out what to do with all of my emotions and anxiety. We won't say anger, but anger, everything to do with our country and what's going on. And I do find it interesting. I think, there is part of the population that's not like leaning in and paying attention, and that's usually me, to be honest. Um I'll have like these little spurts of getting fired up, and then I'll kind of go back to business and life as usual. But this time I couldn't shake it. I could not shake it. And there's just something in me. My intuition was basically yelling. Let's just say that. The voices in my head and my body were yelling at me to do something. And this project comes, knowing that there's opposites in everything. There's duality in everything. That is law. There will always be two sides. But I have done the work to understand how language works and how listening and communication work. For the last 6 years, I've poured my studies into understanding how neuroscience, how our brain works, and how it changes what's happening on our outside, right? Like how our thoughts actually create our reality has been my study for a while now. And I know that all this yelling on the internet is draining us, and we need a new approach. And I finally have a project where we can make this real. And I'm going to tell you about it in this episode. And this is for either side of the fence. I am not here to discuss politics. This is about equality and love. And as long as you believe in equality and love, you're always safe in my community. Welcome back to the Messy Success Podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Henson. I help creative business owners and artists build communities around your brand so that business is easy and profitable. When you stay in action, yes, I mean even messy action, only good things happen. We are always learning, and when we can get just as excited about the lessons as the results, magic happens. I've helped million-dollar companies with their marketing, but my mission in this world is to help you step into the best possible version of yourself so you can create your dream business too. We believe in community and people over strategies and tactics. Our theme here at the Messy Success Podcast is the 1% adventure, where we're focusing on getting 1% better every single day. I want you to color outside the lines and embrace the messy journey to take daily action towards your goals. If you've noticed a plateau in your business, we've created a very quick quiz where you can find out your next best move. Head over to elizabethhenson.co/next to find out. Now let's get started. All right, so let's dive in. We all know that this yelling on the internet is completely depleting our energy. It's negative, it's argumentative, and that doesn't work. It doesn't work because when someone is defensive, they actually can't listen or receive new information. Think about this in your own life. When you're really angry or you're in an argument, it's much harder to give a crap about what the other person is saying because you're fighting for your own voice to be heard. And I understand this, and I'm here for it. We're all human beings. But now that I know how the brain works in all of this, we can't receive when we're in that defensive state. So if we want anyone to listen to us, we really have to come from a place of empathy, and we have to be able to evoke curiosity. If someone is curious, they will listen. And then if we can evoke a feeling or emotion, they might actually say, this needs to change, or this isn't right. And that's what we need right now. We need stories that cause people to say, this isn't right. That's how we create change. But they're not going to do that if we're so busy yelling and arguing and just leaking our energy all over the place. And history shows us that real change comes from storytelling, empathy, and connection. So we all know what our leaders want right now is chaos, right? We are taking the bait. So I have created a movement. I'm calling it the Listening Movement, where I'm going to be sharing stories from people who cannot speak out because of their job. They're afraid to speak out because of what people might say or think, or they're undocumented. Whatever the reason, they don't have a platform. I want those stories to be told. And that feels like something I can control and something that I can do with my platform, is to simply be the voice for the voiceless, for someone who is too afraid to speak up or too afraid to tell their story. I can use my voice. And once I kind of figured this out and made a plan, just for me, what I mean by a plan is something that I can do to channel all my energy into something good that creates forward progress. Forward progress. That's all I can control. And we all have the ability to channel these emotions that are trapped right now because we don't know what to do with them, and we're not feeling seen, and we're not feeling heard, and everyone's frustrated. Everyone has the ability to take that energy and move it towards something good. Whether you join an activist group, whether you just start reading and educating yourself, there are plenty of ways. You can come up with your own. For me, I knew I wouldn't participate with 110% if I didn't do something of my own that I felt like I could take ownership of and have some control over. I didn't want to just jump into another group. I wanted to feel like I was spearheading something. That's just how my creative mind works. But there are plenty of people who can join a group and be exactly what that group needs. There are activists for every single category. What I'm most passionate about is public education and equality. So I really plan on this movement honing in on human rights, equality for all, and public education. Now, I believe in climate change and environmentalists and science. There's so much. Politics are like, there's so much, and there's so many subcategories. And the reason I'm choosing the categories that I'm choosing is because I really feel like I can speak to those. I don't know much about climate change. I do my part, right? I've got the laundry pods. We just switched to some shampoo bars instead of the shampoo containers. But I really trust the experts. There are people in this world that it is their dharma to save the planet. And I look to them, to their leadership, to tell me what to do, and I take action. So there might be something hidden in your dharma or hidden in the work that you're already doing that will allow you to become an activist and to create some change. And for me, it just looks like using my voice. My voice is my most powerful tool in my business. That's why I keep doing this podcast. We don't have, a ton of listeners, but those of you that do listen, much quicker whether I'm for you or whether I'm not. And people contact me because they listen to the podcast, way more I don't want to say frequently, more authentically than if they find me on a different platform. My voice is my most powerful tool. So I want to use it for something good. So I'm honored to do this for those who cannot safely speak out. And while my stance is very clear, I do invite perspectives from both sides because this is only going to help me speak to the change and what really needs to happen in order for people to come together. Now, there's no room for white supremacists here. Okay? But I know there are people in my community who think differently than me. And while I do think it's black and white, you either voted for someone who doesn't believe in human rights or you didn't. I also know that there's gray area. And it's the people in the gray area who are saying things like, well, I'm not racist, or I'm not a white supremacist, or I do believe in human rights, but I just wanted grocery prices and homeschool funds and this and that, right? The gray area, those are the ones that I really, really hope that you'll stick around. Because I love you and I see you. And there's so much to learn. And when I learned the most was when I became a public educator. And I'm going to tell you guys about that in a minute. I want to get through telling you about the project first. Okay, so while my stance is clear, and I do invite perspectives from both sides to submit their stories, there's zero room for hate or discrimination of any kind. And my goal is not to fight. My goal is to listen, to share real stories that will spark empathy and curiosity. If you know someone that has a story to tell that might open minds or open hearts, please share my project with them. Their voice is important. So you can submit your story at elizabethhenson.co/standup. It's very easy to remember. elizabethhenson.co/standup. So let me tell you how this is going to work logistically, and then I'll get into a little bit more of my story of being a teacher. So this project, I'm calling it the Listening Movement, is happening on TikTok. And I just started this morning, and TikTok is TikToking, you guys. I'm like, oh, shoot. This is going to take my time because I'm actually enjoying it. The algorithm's working. People are participating. I knew in my gut that there was a reason this project belonged on TikTok. And it is proving to be true. And I do realize TikTok might go away. And whatever happens, happens. But my goal is to share a story every single day until we have leadership that believes in equality. That's really crazy. I have lost my marbles, you guys. But I'm here for it. And the goal is that when this is a well-oiled machine, these are like 1-minute stories that I can just share a story every day. And then it's business as usual. Nothing is changing here as far as my platform and my business coaching and my community building. If anything, this is me putting my community building skills into a real life and death situation. And the calling was so strong, there's no way I could fight it. So it's happening. And I'm going to share on TikTok probably every day. This is where the long form content will live. And my goal is that you can just scroll through all these really powerful stories. And if people don't submit, then I'll keep using my own voice. But hopefully we'll get some really powerful stories. I want to hear from kids. I want to hear from the undocumented. I want to hear from LGBTQ. I want to hear from Black people and white people and everyone who feels suppressed or oppressed or like they cannot speak out for whatever reason. That's what I can offer to the world, and I'm excited about it. But don't worry, this will be business as usual here on the Messy Success Podcast. I may share one 1-minute story at the beginning or end of each episode to keep the project moving. And I may share a little bit on my Instagram, but it's really mostly going to be happening on TikTok unless they take it away, and then we'll figure something else out. Okay. So you can submit your story at elizabethhenson.co/standup, and you can read more about the project there. And I will be stepping into my activist era, and I promise to do so peacefully and honorably. And if you are triggered at all by the word equality, if you feel that defensive feeling in your body, or if it makes you uncomfortable to even listen to anything that I've said in this episode, if you're feeling like you need to run away because you're on the other side, then I really urge you to lean into that. Because hate comes from fear, and fear can be unlearned. So if you are triggered, if you are uncomfortable, if you feel like called out or misunderstood even, I really want you to lean in. And this is a safe place to do it. Okay, so when I was a teacher, it changed everything for me. Well, there's so many moments. But when I was a public educator, I didn't know what the world was really like, to be honest. I mean, I grew up with not only white privilege, but, smart girl privilege, healthy household privilege. I mean, I had everything. All my needs were met. So when I became a teacher and realized how many students didn't have food, didn't have enough clothing, were homeless, were, immigrants, were not safe, it was so incredibly eye-opening. I didn't know the severity of what's actually going on in our country, in our youth, until I became a teacher. And that's why I'm so passionate about public education. It's not just because my kids go to a public school. My kids are going to be fine because they have Mark and I and their grandparents and their aunts. They have a village. All their needs are met and beyond. My kids are fine. But as someone who has seen and fallen in love with all the other kids that are not fine, we have to fight for them. If we lose free breakfast and lunch in the public education system, now we're going to have a hunger crisis bigger than it already is. And these kids can't learn if they are hungry. So that little act that seems little and insignificant to those that are not in favor of the Department of Education is literally making our future better, because these kids can't learn if they're hungry. And if they can't learn, they will not become active participants in society. So there is a ripple effect to things like the Department of Education going away. And again, this isn't politics for me. I don't even understand how all the different pieces and parts of the White House and the Senate and the House and the representatives, right? That is not my dharma. That is for someone else to explain to the world. This is about equality, and this is about our children. Okay, human rights. It's important. And being a teacher opened my eyes to so much. And I can tell you, so many students, like my student Brian, I was so excited that it was snowing. And I was like that teacher that was just so happy dancing around that it was going to snow. And he was so angry and annoyed. And he finally said, "But I don't even have gloves or a hat or boots. Not everyone is happy that it's snowing, Mrs. Henson." And I felt terrible. So of course I put that into action, and I emailed every male teacher in the building and I said, get this boy some boots, hats, and a glove right away. And we did. But it still wasn't okay that I had no idea that was going on. And Brian is such a special student in my heart because he taught me so much. We had so many little moments like that where he taught me. And I think part of him knew that I was a safe place and that I would listen and that I could be taught. And that's what's so important right now, that we can listen and we can all learn and we can all be taught, and we can somehow find a way that even when we disagree, that we can agree on things like equality and human rights. And the ones that don't believe in that, now they're the enemy. But if you believe in equality, then we have to figure out how to work together. Okay, my activist era. The other thing I wanted to share that's very quick, because you know that they have canceled, to an extent, Black History Month. My understanding is that schools and, everyone can continue celebrating, but it's no longer, required on the federal level. When I was in second grade, that's my first memory of Black History Month. And we all had to write essays and read them in front of the class. And my essay was about Muhammad Ali. And I was so proud. I was like the only female in the classroom that got to be a male athlete. I was really proud of that. But learning about Harriet Tubman, about Martin Luther King, 8 years old is when I decided that I was an ally. And I never stopped. I never stopped advocating for my friends. And what is getting me fired up about Black History Month, because the Black community, they all have different opinions about Black History Month and whether it should be a thing or whether it shouldn't be a thing, or we should just celebrate all year. And I agree with all of that. And if this was a board like Morgan Freeman saying we should be celebrating it all year, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I love this approach of it's a celebration. We celebrate Black people all year long, but Black History Month is our opportunity to celebrate. I love that approach as well. But I don't have attachments into it for the reason that you think I do, because my husband is Black or anything like that. He feels pretty neutral about it, to be honest. But it's what Black history does for the white kids. It's what it did for me. Those conversations weren't happening at home, right? That's when I decided to become an ally. And there's so many white children out there like me that aren't having conversations about race at home, and they might choose to be an ally too. And it could have turned out wildly differently for me if I hadn't had that moment when 8 years old. And these are really important things. And the stories, right? Me telling you those two stories evokes a much different feeling in your mind and your body as you're listening to it than if this entire podcast episode was shaming anyone that voted for him. And that is hard to do. It is hard to channel your emotions in a positive way. And it takes practice and skill. And that's how I know I'm the right person for this. Because even though I'm angry, even though I'm hurt, disgusted at times, I understand how to show up to create the change. And I'm not saying I can solve all the world's problems here. I'm literally just happy to use my voice. That's it. And other than that, it's going to be business as usual. I can sleep at night now that I've figured out what to do with this, with my energy. I hope that you will find something positive to do with your energy, even if it's just following the listening movement or sharing the form with a friend that might have a story to tell. That's enough. There's no need to be anything other than yourself. But I do want to encourage everyone to take care of your energy, to channel your energy to something good, but also to be open and to lead with love. And every single human being is important, and we're all imperfect, and we're all doing our best. So important. Okay, you guys, that's the listening movement. Don't forget, you can go find the form to submit your story at elizabethhenson.co/stand-up. One slash, I just had a speech problem there. elizabethhenson.co/stand-up. And you can be completely anonymous if you choose. Again, this is for the voiceless. This is for people who are afraid to stand up or to use their platform in any way, shape, or form. I will handle it with the utmost respect and care. And I have no idea where this project's going to go, but I'm here for it either way. I'm not looking for any monetary gain from it. It's just a place for me to put my energy so that I can continue to be the best possible version of myself when I'm here helping you guys, when I'm on the podcast, when I'm coaching my students and my community. I really love being the best version of myself and channeling that energy, channeling that anger, that frustration into something good helps me do that. And thank you guys for listening. Thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to see what happens with the listening movement. By the time this episode goes live, we will have had a week and a half underway of the project. So let me just document something here. I started this morning on TikTok with 95 followers. Last I checked, I was already at 107. So it'll be really fun to see where I am by the time this episode goes live. You guys can watch that for a fun social media experiment, okay? All right, I love you guys, and I'll see you soon.